Your most recent article after Jim Dolan's latest confrontation at the Garden, Charles Oakley calls for the commissioner to step in. I watched Around the Horn with your comments about Dolan that basically don't be so sensitive with something like this. He's heard this before, but he did ban a fan a couple of years ago for basically the same thing. What can the commissioner do with the Knicks situation with this owner?
Well, they haven't done anything before. And if you remember, the All-Star game was in New York, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And right before the All-Star game was here, there was a gentleman who had sent Jim Dolan a letter kind of expressing, his disappointment and how things are being run. And Jim Dolan responded to the guy with kind of a nasty letter, accused the guy of probably being an alcoholic. And the guy's son ended up releasing that letter. And when Adam Silver was asked about it, he was kind of like, well, that's just Jim Dolan kind of being, a competitive guy and being feisty. But it's happened on a number of occasions. And for me, if that's you as you're walking off the court and somebody says something to you, there's a chance that you might say something back. But I think you have to put everything in proper perspective here. You are the owner of a franchise that has won one playoff series since 2001. The team currently has 13 wins. You can't sit there and tell me just because, and I get it, he pays the players, he pays his executives, his coaches, everybody makes a lot of money, but that's not just what goes into being a good owner. The fans only care about the results on the court, and there's no arguing the results on the court. They haven't been good since Jim Dolan has been in charge there. And if once in a while a fan's going to yell out, sell the team, I would say this, Dan, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often at the Garden. I think the fans there are incredibly patient. We know all about years ago when they flew the banner over Giant Stadium about selling the team. It happens all the time in Europe with these soccer teams. When they think the manager isn't any good or the owner, somebody will rent a plane and they'll fly, they'll have like some kind of sign flying over the stadium. I guess luckily for Madison Square Garden, it doesn't have a see-through roof, so Jim Dolan doesn't have to look at stuff like that.
Well, I'm also wondering this in the offseason, Frank, where if they luck into Zion Williamson, you're not going to luck into Kevin Durant and or Kyrie Irving, but why would they want to go into this situation? Everybody wants to be a savior, and, I can be a good guy going to the Knicks, and we make the Knicks relevant here. But I'm just wondering, as a free agent, why would I want, not that it matters, I guess, who the owner is, but in this situation, it feels like it does.
Well, it does in a lot of ways, because I think if you look at a lot of players, but it definitely coaches and executives who have gone there, you can't tell me that being in New York enhanced their legacy, whether or not it was Larry Brown, Phil Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, Carmelo Anthony, Amari Stoudemire, Jason Kidd. Kind of the list goes on and on. The one guy who I think got out of it pretty good was probably Jeremy Lin when he was there, and that was only a short time. What would concern me for guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I think you hit on it. Coming to New York, that could be part of it. Hey, think about what I could do for my legacy if I win. I also think a lot of it could be about stuff off the court, kind of like what LeBron has going on in L.A. And I think sometimes for these guys, if they make moves that really aren't based on basketball first and foremost, and really, if Kevin Durant were to leave the Golden State Warriors, he's in one of the greatest situations you'll be in for an NBA player, in the next maybe 50 years. That's an ideal place. The Celtics are the Celtics. They have the history. They got young players and all this talent. If you go to the Knicks, you're taking a risk, but you also wonder, is there extra motivation? And sometimes that could backfire. I think for LeBron, every move that he's made in his career, to me, was about basketball. The one to the Lakers was basketball, family, and obviously the business part of it, and the basketball is backfired. I don't think there's any question about it.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.